So it's been right around 1 month since we went and picked up this RS3 for my wife to replace her Evo 10 and her daily driver CX5. The aim for this car was to make one car purchase that sort of does both. So this is now her daily driver and sort of weekend fun toy. And obviously being her car, she's been driving it a lot. And I've had a chance to drive it a few times, but today I thought I would go out, set some cameras up, film a video and just give my thoughts on how it is to drive one of these and own it after about a month. And so just quickly before I set the cameras up and head off for a drive, I would point out that the car has a couple of modifications, one being this massive Venturi intake that is all in carbon fiber, as you can see. The car also has a tune for the engine and for the gearbox. So it's making a little bit more power than factory, but it has stock exhaust, stock downpipe. It has some aftermarket wheels and we've just put new tires on it. Also has aftermarket brakes and just some Maxton design aero pieces, the splitter kit basically. But other than that, that's about it. Very few modifications compared to the Evo that it's replacing. And yeah, definitely less modifications than my Evo, which is around the 300 kilowatts or 400 horsepower range with a built dual clutch gearbox, same as this has. This is obviously all standard. So it's going to be interesting to see how it sort of compares. I'm not going to do a full comparison between the Evo today, but being that's the car that I drive the most, it's going to be interesting to see just how it feels with just basically a tune and an intake. So yeah, we'll set the cameras up, may put the microphone in the engine bay so you guys can hear the intake sounds and a microphone at the exhaust to hear that. Because even though the car has the stock standard exhaust system, it does really sound good, especially when you change the modes. So I'll go over all that as well once we're in the car driving, but I thought I'd do a little walk around so you guys can see it first. They are definitely a good looking car, very subtle. Absolutely love the Nardo grey paintwork. Really offset with the black accents. So yeah, let's jump in, take it for a drive, get it warmed up and everything, and do a couple of pulls. Alright guys, well, we are cruising along, and first thing I wanted to sort of talk about was overall the car's comfort level. So if you didn't know with these cars, because a lot of you guys who watch the channel obviously are into the Evo 10s and rally arts, which is what I have been filming on the channel for the last few years. So when you come to like the sort of the modern Euro stuff, they have these different drive modes, which a lot of cars have these days obviously, but I'll talk through it as though you didn't know. So you'll have your drive select button. This car having the aftermarket steering wheel out of like the Audi R8 sort of style, it has it here. Normally it's over here. So when you press that, which I'll just use the one on the wheel because it's easier, you'll get to your different modes. So you can see there's 4. There's comfort, auto, dynamic and individual. So I'll put that into comfort, slot it into like auto shifting, and the exhaust valves close, it becomes quieter. The suspension gets a little bit softer. The throttle response is a lot sort of spongier, I guess, like because it's not trying to be revved out. The engine and gearbox becomes smoother, and the steering gets a bit looser. The whole car just feels less performance and more just comfortable cruiser. It'll also, like right now I'm sitting at 68 kilometers an hour and it's in 7th gear. It's happy to just be in 7th gear, so it's going to be very economical on fuel. And yeah, it's not loud. Even if what I might do is pop this sunroof open. So this has a pretty distinctive exhaust note, but in comfort mode, it's pretty quiet. You can still hear it. I can still hear that. You probably can't because the microphones don't really pick the sounds up like our ears do. But it's very quiet, very under the radar. The car doesn't look too aggressive, so you can just drive this around in comfort mode. No one's going to really pay much attention unless they sort of know what it is. So then you can go down, you've got your auto mode, which I don't even use, to be honest. It's going to be right in the middle. You got your dynamic, which is the full sports mode, I guess you could call it. And I don't know if you heard that, as I hit that dynamic mode, the car downshifted and the exhaust valves opened. So it's in auto still. So it's gone down to third gear now. The car feels sportier. It's got better throttle response. It kind of feels like it just wants to go. The gears aren't going to really change. Like, it's already back down to third again. So it upshifted to fourth for me there because I was so light on the throttle, but it's already back to third. It's like it wants me to go. And yeah, the steering, I mean, I don't feel too much difference. The steering, I will say, it's nowhere near the level of the Evo 10, the steering and handling in this, but it is stock. So I don't think it's really trying to be. So we'll just keep cruising along dynamic, and we'll go into my favorite mode, which is individual. Now this you just configure to whatever you want. So if I go across on the screen here, hopefully you can see the screens here. Probably this one you can't. It's probably going to be all LED flashy, which it does, but I think this one doesn't. So it'll give you all your settings. So you can see we've got this engine gearbox, we've got it in auto, suspension's in comfort, steering's in comfort, quattro's in auto, engine sound is dynamic, adaptive cruise control. So you're able to just set to however you want. And what I've seen of, people say this is like the secret loud mode of the exhaust, having the engine gearbox in auto, the quattro in auto, and the adaptive cruise control in auto. I think those three settings that somehow is meant to make the car louder than just in dynamic. I'm not too sure, but that's what we've done to play around with it. But for now, we'll go back into dynamic mode. Straight away here, the downshifts. And yeah, the car is still very comfortable, I will say. But it just, straight away, the exhaust note you get, the throttle response, and it won't come through on camera, I'm sure, but this intake, you hear a lot of turbo spool and you hear a lot of flutter as well. It is an enclosed intake. So what I will do is probably put the microphones in the engine bay and exhaust later so you can get like the proper idea of how it sounds in person, because that's the way I've found that I get the best representation of what you hear with your ears, is putting the microphones in the engine bay and exhaust and turning them all the way down. It sort of gets as close as you can to actually what it's like to hear the car when you're driving. So you've obviously got that manual mode and auto mode, just like any dual clutch Evo, or any dual clutch car I should say, and just like my dual clutch Evo 10. This one obviously having the extra gear. The one thing I don't like is in the manual mode, which you can see over here, the up and down shifting is actually backwards. So I find I just have to use the paddles because I know I'll just end up doing that wrong. It's basically pull down for downshift and push up for upshift, which sounds like it would make sense. But when you think about it, when you're braking hard, you're getting on the accelerator, you're getting pushed forward in your seat, you're going to push forward to downshift, which is the way like sequential gearboxes are, and that's the way the gearbox is in the Evo 10. So with this, it's just backwards in my mind. Some people think this is the right way, that's probably what they're used to, but I just find pushing, if you're hard on accelerator, pulling down to upshift would be the way to do it. But yeah, if I stick to the paddles, it's the way to do it, I think. So then we come to, like, I guess the interior quality. Super nice. You can also actually put this screen down and just have a really subtle, just leather dash. Probably not going to work with the GoPro, I think, but on this display here, you've got your digital display. You can change it to however you want. I've just got the maps there. I've got power and torque, and yeah, not that they really tell you much, and just the RPM and speed with the modes you're in. But it's slightly customizable. It's not that customizable, but it is super nice looking display. Much nicer than just, I like digital dashes. I know some people don't. They prefer analog. I really like digital dashes, especially because you can change this to have, your different views. So you can have the full map there. So it's super cool in my mind having this digital dash. Everything's pretty easy to use, all the aircon and everything. So there's not like crazy amount of features. It's not a super luxury car in my mind. It doesn't have a heads-up display. It has heated seats, but not cooled seats. They aren't electric seats. So there's, some luxury features, some more normal. It's still, it's meant to be a sports car, I guess. So it's a sports luxury. It's not full luxury, so it would make sense. But yeah, so that is just your general driving. Then once you actually want to open it up, this thing is quite surprising for just a stage 1 tune. So if I downshift into third, second, you'll see the digital dash. So it'll light up as you're revving and flash when you're at the red line. I love that feature, that's super cool. It actually works really well in auto mode as well, so you don't actually need to shift yourself. You can just leave it in full auto. But I just love being able to downshift and hearing the sound. So this car actually doesn't have a crackle map, which I'm very grateful for, because I'm just not a crackle map type of person. The only crackles it really does is when you start the car up, but when you're driving, it may do the occasional, probably more natural one when you downshift, but it's not over the top. It's not just crackling the whole time. It just has that really nice exhaust note, and downshifting it becomes addictive. It's just got that, that you hear the sound every time, just that 5-cylinder roaring. Okay, so we've got to a faster speed zone now, so I can kind of open it up a little bit more. Now, I've already flicked it into dynamic, but I'll just show you that again. So we'll go back into comfort, because that's what I was driving to get out to this road. It's comfort auto, and we're immediately just cruising. Get back up to the sort of speed limit. 6th gear, 7th gear. Nice and comfortable. It's just cruising along. It's super nice. Then once you go flick it back in to dynamic, instantly downshifts into 4th, and it's just ready to go. And it picks up speed really well. It's got long gears, it has extra gears. You can take the corners, obviously, because you have your quattro all-wheel drive. So it's like, just grips you down to the road, fly you out of a corner. Again, I don't think the handling and steering is on par with the Evo 10, but I'm just probably more used to the Evo 10, and that is like a more raw, stripped down sort of sports car, rally car, whereas this is like a luxury car. But yeah, they're both based off an economy model. This is a higher end car. I think this car overall has more going for it, obviously. I just don't think the steering and suspension, but then again, the suspension in this just has lower springs. The Evo 10's stock, not even in comparison, this probably handles better, but once you've got some coilovers or something in there, they handle really well. And that's what I'm just used to, so that's what I'm basing it off. I'm also not used to this car as much yet. I haven't taken it up the mountains yet, which I do want to do soon, but it still gives me enough confidence. At never at any point do I feel like I'm not going to have the grip, or that I'm not going to feel like, I still feel feedback through it. It's just, it's a little bit different to what I'm used to. But the speed, the way it just picks up and goes and has the top end that the Evo definitely doesn't with its stock turbo, at any time it is just ready to go like that. The auto mode in this is actually really good. Obviously I prefer generally shifting the gears myself, but the auto mode, it'll just put you in the right gear you need to be. Yeah, I just think on auto mode in this, it's better than the Evo 10's auto mode. This is usable. The good thing as well, you can actually launch in auto mode with this. I haven't launched yet, but I just know that you can. And it won't hit limiter. It's smart enough, it knows what it's doing. But when you slot it over to manual, which you can do by either shifting it across or by just tapping the paddle, and you'll start basically manual mode. So what I like to do is just flick it across with the gear stick, and then we're in full control of the gears. And it just wants to go. For a stock turbo with just an intake and a tune, this thing blows me away. The sounds are so intoxicating. The exhaust sound, which you probably can't hear, And the turbo sound you probably can't hear, but in person, so good. It just really wants to go, I feel like. It's got that really nice flutter from the intake. Actually don't think you need to get a catback exhaust system on these. If you just go a downpipe, I think, without a cat, that will be perfect. It's not as loud in cabin as well, I've found, but driving behind it, it's got a lot more noise. At low speeds, you hear when you're downshifting, you definitely hear the... But yeah, it just really wants to go at all times, I feel like. It's... What I love about it, it's got that real 2 different modes. It's got more modes, but you know what I mean? It's really, it's either complete cruising and you're just happy just sitting along at the speed behind whatever car you're stuck behind on the motorway, and it's just comfortable. You've got your music going, and then you get into this dynamic mode, or the individual if you set it up that way, and it just, I feel like it's a totally different car. It just, you always just want to be going more and more. So if we go down to second here, it has such strong top end and mid-range. It definitely, you feel that extra cylinder and an extra 0.5 of a litre compared to my Evo with the 2 litre, the 4-cylinder. It's just, it's another class above, obviously. It's another class above cost-wise as well, but performance-wise, these with just another 2 mods done, a downpipe and an intercooler to stop some heat soak, and then just retuning it, they run 10s, which is just crazy. This already, on the quarter mile, should be close to the level of my car, which is an 11.4 second quarter mile. This should do about 11.5, 11.6 from what I've seen, with just the stage 1 tune and an intake. That's just crazy to me. Like, the amount of money I've had to spend on my Evo to get that performance. I've got a turbo, I've got it on E85, injectors, fuel pump, intercooler, full turbo back exhaust manifold. Like, so much has to be done to make an Evo as fast as this with a stage 1 tune. So yeah, while it doesn't have some of the characteristics of the Evo, it's got so many pluses. I just really am impressed by this thing. Absolutely love that it does have its differences to the Evo. So I still want to drive my Evo, and I want to drive this at different times. I think my Evo, I'd much prefer up on a mountain road, and this just for straight line pulls, for cruising. At night, it's super nice and bright in here, and yeah, it's exceeded my expectations, I'll be honest, of the car. I always have loved these. I've always said this would be the only car that I could logically think of as the next step from my Evo 10. And obviously I didn't get it, Letisha did, but I'm able to drive it still, and yeah, she's able to drive my Evo still. So I think it's definitely the perfect step up, and it is just so fun. Like, I just can't get over how much I enjoy driving this car. So I think what I'll do now, I might just pull over somewhere, I'll mic the car up so you guys can sort of hear, and instead of me talking, we'll just get more of the raw car driving, and yeah, let you guys enjoy that. Alright guys, well hopefully you enjoyed the video. That's just basically my thoughts after being able to drive this car a couple of times. I haven't driven it fully, I haven't gotten fully used to it yet. I definitely want to do more. I want to take it to a track day, I want to take it up the mountains a bunch of times, get more used to the steering and handling, which I think is something that is just different enough to me. But the power, the straight line speed, the sound, everything, the luxury, the comfort, just a huge plus to me. I absolutely love this thing already, and as does Letisha, obviously. So it's sad that we're having to sell her Evo 10. If it does sell, hopefully it does one day. But this car, I think, is a worthy upgrade. So you're going to end it there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if there's videos you want to see on the RS3 in the future. I'll try and make those. With all that said, until next time, I'll catch you guys later.